Hi, I'm Park Cutter. I'm the pastor's spouse. I spent a lot of time this week just enjoying the holiness of being present in the church. Metropolitan UMC, as has been mentioned, is a huge and glorious old church. Most of the week, the sanctuary was dark and cool, and I spent a lot of my off time just sitting there and enjoying that. One afternoon this week, we came back from our work and the lights were on in the sanctuary, and the organist was in practicing for the week, and that was kind of a treat to sit in there and hear him work through a few hymns. And finally, he stepped out from behind the console. I think he was 15 years old. He looked really young, but once he realized he had 3 or 4 people in there, his practice got a lot more elaborate. I think he was showing off. And we just got a beautiful little mini organ concert. Detroit is a really interesting city to be in because, as Jeff said, there's intense poverty. After the Great Recession and the collapse of the automobile industry, I think the population of Detroit went from 2 million people down to less than 1 million people. And that meant that, every other home, sometimes 2 out of 3 homes in any block were abandoned. The city eventually just started tearing them down because they were in such terrible shape, leaving, it's kind of weird. You're in a city, but it feels like you're driving through a small town or a farm, like the farming district, because they've begun, people just began reclaiming these lots and turning them into gardens, either informally or formally, like the project we traveled through. The first day, we were doing trail maintenance in a park. It's like a 30 or 40 or 50 acre park. It's like the 3rd largest park in Detroit. And it had been completely abandoned because there was no money to maintain it, to the point where the family who donated the park 100 years ago came to the city and said, you're not using this the way we intended. There's a clause that's going to allow us to reclaim this, and we're just going to develop it. And people in the neighborhood said, but we love our park. And they themselves simply went in and reclaimed this park. The houses that we were working on, and in a lot of cases, if they were around here, we'd look at them and say, wow, that probably should be condemned. The siding had holes in it, the roofs were not in great shape, the houses were tough, and yet people were living in them and making the best of them. Beautiful gardens around these houses. The interiors were often in much better shape than the exteriors. I can't count the number of beautiful murals and paintings that we saw driving around. Even on abandoned buildings would be these fantastic, glorious, colorful murals. Our prejudices might say, wow, this looks like a place where I might get shot and knifed, or there might be drug deals going down. There'd be kids skipping around between the yards. And just a good reminder that people who have very little, as we read about in the Bible, often are the closest in their faith. I couldn't count the number of churches we saw in Detroit. Every block had a church, maybe 2, it felt like. And all the churches, most of them were a little bit down on their luck too, just like the homes, and yet active faith communities. And you can see God at work. This is a people who they may not have much, but they have them. They're leaning on each other. They're finding ways to love each other and build their community back. And that was a good reminder that God's at work everywhere. We were privileged to come in and just kind of parachute in and spend a week visiting that and being inspired by them. And if you ever get the chance, I'd encourage you to do it as well. And don't neglect to take those moments to sit down as well and just be aware as we read the Bible. Be still and know that I am God. And that was my blessing of the week. Thanks.